The countdown to the Modi budget is on its last leg. In fact, tomorrow is the big day. What is India Inc. expecting from Finance Minister Arun Jaitley this time around? Sunil Munjal, the joint MD of MotoCorp, joins in with his wish list. Mr. Munjal, good morning, and thank you as always for joining us. Now, you know, the industry as a whole has a very long wish list in terms of tax exemptions, etc. But are you getting a sense that this time around, because fiscal prudence is top of mind, all those wishes may just go out of the window?
I think the budget this time will focus on two different things. One, of course, it will focus on improving the fiscal situation currently. So there will be some tough things, I expect. But I also think because it is the first budget of this government, they will focus on giving a long-term vision of the government through this budget as well. So I do expect we will see some focus on long-term issues, not just the current, not just the accounting of the government for the next few months.
Okay. Good morning, Mr. Munjal. Thanks much for joining us. Do you expect a very clear timetable on GST, at least, because now this government seems to be in a better position to negotiate with states?
I think GST is one thing we are almost certain to get a timetable on, and we are all hoping it will be sooner rather than later. The expectation is that certainly by the 1st April next year, we should see a GST implementation. It's possible to do it even earlier, but there is a run-up, there is a preparation required which takes a few months. So I would expect 1st April would be a good date for the GST. I'm also hoping we will see the government focus on 5 or 6 industries which have a big multiplier effect to try and boost the growth in those industries. In fact, overall, I think they will be focused on growth of the economy and job creation as the center point for this budget.
Okay. In fact, you know, the NDA government, ever since they came into power, has said that they will, you know, restarting the investment cycle is top of their priority list. In your mind, what are the 1, 2 or 3 things they could announce which could spur that?
I think one of the things they could announce is investment allowance for new investments. They could announce setting up of some kind of an expert group to look at labor laws, or allow states to relax labor laws as and when they feel like, to create a competitive environment amongst the states. I also think they need to focus on the Land Acquisition Act, which was passed recently, to see how that can become easier to implement. Because in the current form it is in, it's very, very difficult, very time consuming. Also, I hope they will talk about making some changes which make the Companies Act more practical to use and operate business in. Because ease of doing business has been a big challenge in India. As we are all aware, in the World Bank rankings, we rank way low in the list. We are at some 134th or something in the list. So I think there will be a focus on specific issues of the government-industry interface, and I'm also hoping the government-citizen interface will get eased.
Sir, land, labor, capital, enterprise, you touched all the 4 factors of production in that 4 terse points that you said industry
exactly.
is... No, now the point is it's a tall ask. Politically difficult labor laws, if quietly the states are being allowed to do it, that perhaps would be politically a better gimmick. But anyway, I'm not getting into that. My point is, if these don't come, you know, tomorrow or any time soon, do you think we are pushing the capex cycle too much?
If they don't come anytime soon, it would certainly be disappointing. I do, however, think they don't come in the budget tomorrow as it's possible. They will come offline because they're really not budget items actually. As I said, the budget has been seen in India as a policy-making statement for the government as well, especially when the new government comes in, which is why the expectation about non-fiscal and non-financial policies gets raised around budget time. But I expect that all the announcements will not get made tomorrow. We will hear policy announcements continue to go well beyond the budget as well. I don't think, by the way, it's a politically unwise thing to do. And I want to repeat that because the labor policy in India is not promoting jobs. It is so rigid that it discourages new job creation. And in a nation like India, we need to communicate well to ourselves to tell us why this change is necessary and why it's good for the entire system, the entire economy, and for job creation.
Okay. Point taken, sir. I mean, no two ways about an aristocracy of labor also that prevails in the country. But coming to the tax issue itself, the government is not in a position to do any tax giveaways. If the tax regime is intact, the status quo prevails, do you think the captains of industry are going to be terribly disappointed?
I think what industry is expecting right now is not massive giveaways. It wants two things to happen. It wants the tax system to get simpler and cleaner. Therefore, moderate tax rates and a wider tax base is what the economy needs and what the country needs. I think if we can do that, we would have served the country very, very well. And that is not an easy job. I completely agree with you. It's not an easy ask, especially at a time like this. But if you widen the tax base and you explain to people why you are doing this, to be able to improve infrastructure, to improve consumer services, to improve the overall environment in the country for growth. I think people are now very smart. If you see the way people have been voting election after election now, they're asking the government to provide services, they're asking the government to provide a facilitating environment, and they're questioning governments when infrastructure, physical infrastructure is not good enough. So if we want all of these, we have no choice but to move in this direction.
Okay. For the auto sector, Mr. Munjal, are you expecting anything this time around? I mean, the main, juice was already announced a couple of weeks ago with that excise duty cut extension. But anything incremental that you see for the sector itself?
Let me not talk only the auto sector. There are 4 or 5 sectors which have a massive multiplier for the economy and for job creation. Automotive is certainly top of the list. Automotive, tourism, house construction, textiles, we have 4 or 5 industries which have a big multiplier on the entire system. I'm hoping the government will focus on all of these and find ways to encourage growth in these. Also, these are industries which have potential to become global leaders, and some of them have a massive social impact like house construction. So I think there is a need for us to focus on 2 different things. One is a sector of industry which is suffering very badly, to provide them some succor and some support, and those which have the potential for high growth and to becoming international leaders, we need to figure out a way to support those too. So it's on both ends that the finance minister needs to focus.
So have you exercised your mind on the retrospective tax element? Wide expectations that at least the clauses with reference to the Vodafone case will be reversed, and legally that retroactive tax will not apply. But that is not the only retrospective tax. There are at least 14 or 15 pieces in the last 18 months where retrospective tax-related decisions have been taken. All of that, if it is reversed, is a huge revenue loss for the government. If only one of them is taken out, for instance, the Vodafone case, would that still be seen as positive, or will it be seen as short of expectation?
I was actually just going to say that. It's not about Vodafone, by the way. It is about India's ability to provide a stable administration for doing business, where companies can plan, come in with the plans and operate those plans on the long run. So I don't think it's about a loss of a few thousand crores of revenue by changing these policies. I think it's about maybe hundreds of thousands of crores which are waiting outside and inside for investment. We need the Indian enterprise to be able to freely and happily invest. If we do this, foreign investment is going to come in by itself. And one of the big issues raised has been that policies which get announced must not get changed post getting announced. So that's why the retrospective, and it's not only about tax, it's about any retrospective amendments. In most countries where retrospective amendments have been made, they have actually been done in favor of assessees, not in favor of the governments or the tax department. If you see, it's been made to make people's lives easier. So I think if that is a philosophy with which we operate this, that retrospective amendments should only be made in very, very rare cases and where it's necessary to provide clarity or ease to the assessees. I think that would serve the system very well.
Yeah, a legal luminary for a finance minister should be able to at least bring that about, one would think. Mr. Munjal, pleasure.
I think he's a very, by the way, he's a very smart man, and he understands all of these things. because he's been involved in so many legal issues himself.
Fair point.
He knows what the pain points are. He knows what the issues are. So, which is why there is a high expectation right now with somebody like Arun Jaitley standing up and making the speech tomorrow. We hope to see a big focus on growth, on ease of doing business, ease of starting up new businesses, and the ability of India to show that we are a country which works by the rule of law and we operate the rule of law impartially and objectively.
Fair point, Mr. Munjal. We'll again touch base with you tomorrow after the budget is announced to check how much of your own expectations have been fulfilled. Thank you very much for joining us and laying out the hopes of industry.